What is good, my lovely, jubbly, bubbly, gubbly people? My Care Bears. Okay, I got the script read. I keep making that face. Okay, I got the script ready. Just give me some time. Let's get into this. Okay, so this story can be summed up with the original name that I had for it. That time I got reincarnated as a school building. That's basically the OG title of Dear Cloud. And it basically sums up the entire story. The actual school building. You are actually going to be the school building. Now, I actually thought of this story back in 2026, 2027 time. And let me just go over, oh my gosh, 2026, 2027. That's basically like nearly a decade ago I thought of this story. So yeah, there's a decade of small build-ups that I've been making. But basically, yeah, this story is definitely very dear to me, so I would definitely love it if you guys also like this story. I think I went into a lot of detail into the script as well. So yeah, let's get this on the road. So this has been in development for a while, and I am happy to present this story. So the story starts off with a older Topman about 20 years of age. He's not in university. He was dropped by his parents, as in they just don't care for him anymore. He lives with his grandparents, but his grandfather is a very distant man with no real friends. He takes walks. Not the grandfather. I should have put like a little comma there. But with no real friends, Topman basically just takes walks. He still talks to teenagers despite his big ass age. And he's the local monster. Not for that reason, okay? For one reason, he can actually change his size and form, but he can't control it. So if he sneezes, he'll get a big nose. Anyway, he can't control it. Topman is kind of a loser. He's fat with hair like all over him. He's basically like a caveman. He's unfit. He's unwell. He has like 20 health issues. He thought he would be a big shot in high school, you know, just to end up a nobody. He's shy, talking to people his age. He's still scared of high school girls, in fact. He's still scared of high school girls. One day, however, he's walking across the road and big boy Truckun comes along his way. If you don't know who Truckun is, bro, Truckun basically is the Isekai king. So Truckun is coming around, okay? He has time to actually get out the way, but it's as if an invisible force is pushing him in front of the truck. Topman believes this to be his inner will, like his willpower to like not stay alive, basically. Like he's backing up from the very clear truck about to hit him, and he just can't like he's being pushed, and Topman's being pushed, and he just can't get out of the truck's way, but he's being pushed by some kind of imaginary force, which pushes him into the truck and kills him. This is kind of like Topman's will to not really like stay alive anymore. He just doesn't, his life is like going nowhere. So anyway, Topman dies. It's an isekai. And bro, as a kid, I used to love isekais. Konosuba, Re:Zero, Tanya the Evil, or Tanya the Great. I forget what it was. It was like the World War II little girl. and Sword Art Online, but the abridged one. I haven't seen the original Sword Art Online. But basically, I love isekais. I know I just said like some of the big ones. The Cautious Hero, I love that one as well. I don't know if Yu Yu Hakusho counts. I don't think it does. But I love isekais. I grew up on isekais. I used to watch every isekai. The Shield Hero, I saw that one. I saw every isekai that dropped. I was an isekai fanatic. So to make my own isekai story, it would be a dream, man. But in general, like, I was one of the bigger fans, you know? So anyway, Topman is dead, and now he's in his ghost form. It's cloudy. But let me set the scene. So Topman, he's died. He got hit by the truck. And after being hit by the truck, he basically wakes up as the school building. And I want to describe like his two forms. His form as a building is he can basically be whatever is in the building. He can be the water. He can be a poster. His face can come out of the walls. He's basically a poltergeist. He controls every little element in the school. But also he can leave the school building as if he's possessing it. And his actual, spirit form is very cloudy. He comes out and his body is basically like a huge cloud. He'll have like an afro, big. It'll be like a huge cloud and he's all white and, he's going to be black. Obviously, I'm a black creator. I'm going to make black characters. Don't judge me. But yeah, he'll basically just be like a cloud guy. He can control the water, face through the walls. He can even become the wires and the electricity in the building and he can send mail through the computers. He can become the computer as well. Anyway. Whose school is he in? So he's been reincarnated as a school building. But why? Whose school is he in? He's in the same school that he and his grandfather used to go to in different time periods. So there's two buildings. The one to the left is like his grandfather's building in the past, and the one to the right is his building. Right? And the goal is to make these two, the grandfather and the younger Topman, pass high school with better futures than they do today. Because obviously Topman is kind of a loser. His life wasn't going anywhere and he was talking to teenagers as a 20-year-old man. So yeah, he gets to relive his high school days and he can change it for the better with the decisions that you make. There are options to go back into the real world, and you do have options to just, mess with your old bullies and stuff, I ain't gonna stop you, bro. I ain't gonna stop you. I ain't gonna stop you from getting your revenge. It's a choice that you can make in the comic. You wake up, your eyes above. Oh wait, let me set the scene. You wake up, your eyes look above. It's your town, but in the past. You can tell because some old restaurants are open again. You go to itch your head, but steam pops out. You feel your body, but you can't move. You feel heavier than usual. You realize you're building, panicking. You suddenly see the old playground area that is in your school, and then the science lab, and then you learn that you are your old school. Crazy, right? Well, what if I was to say this doesn't end here with just making your past self pass school? But you can see other isekai people with their own personal spots. Okay, to describe it, you have two types of visions. One where you can see your town and the past Earth, and the version where you can see other isekai people, meaning that you float in a type of void with just your school. I know it's hard to describe without any type of concept art, so stay tuned for when I do make concept art and I show you guys. And the last bit of nuggets of information I'm going to leave with you guys is that there is an actual isekai world above, like an actual fantasy world. You're not actually in the good isekai world, you know, where the Konosubas and the ReZeros and, you know, all of the mystical people and different worlds live. You're actually just in your own personal death spot with the rest of the dead people. But if you go above, you can actually see other isekai people and other isekai worlds. Okay. But those worlds are actually for summoned heroes. People who was... But those worlds are actually for summoned heroes. People who are actually summoned to the world. You were not. But you can invade the world. And without a physical body, you can basically just be the most overpowered person in each world, to the displeasure of some other people. The last factor to consider is that you can go back to Earth in some timelines that you go down. You can possess your bully's body back in the present timeline and live out his lovely life with complications, of course. Or you can bring people into this world in a ghostly form. The ghostly form that you have is basically endless. But remember, you do have a main task. Or not. You basically, you have a main task. Your main task is to get both you and your grandfather to pass school, to pass high school and basically become better versions of yourself, to change the future, or to change the past, I guess, or to change the present that you live in. But also you can make all these different decisions, and it's just fantasy stuff, fantasy stuff. So let's talk about some characters. Topman in the present is a loser, okay? I can't say it any better. He has low self-esteem. Run that back. Topman is a loser. I can't say it any better. He's low self-esteemed. His life was genuinely not going anywhere. He was socially awkward. I mean, the fact that he's talking to the fact that he's Trenny and can relate to and talks to 14 to 15-year-olds kind of says a lot. He's not a pedophile though, relax on him, but his actions are weird. He says he can't relate to anyone his age, but he's really just self-conscious. He's kind of like my baby, bro. He's kind of like, really, because I thought of this guy so long ago. So he's kind of like my child, right? I love this character, dude. I put so much of my own character into this. Although after roasting him, I have to say some discrepancies. I'm basically saying he's like me for real. But I have to, after roasting him, and he's exaggerated, guys. I do have a loving family, okay? I'm not homeless. And I should say this, but I don't talk to kids, okay? Relax on me. I'm not P. Diddy. I'm not P. Diddy. Okay? Okay, that was a lot funnier in the script than I thought it would be saying it actually out loud. And yeah, I don't want to do bad things to myself, like kill myself, you know. I don't want to do that. I just thought I should say this because this version of Topman is basically the max of like insecurities and issues pushed to their extremes. Anyway, the grandfather of the present is a stoic man who doesn't talk much, but he's also not fit, you know. He genuinely hates his own livelihood, even after so many years. He isn't self-hating, but he has made a lot of mistakes he doesn't want to live with. And his wife is distant from him as well. However, there are new versions of these characters. You know, there are different versions. I talked about them in the present, but what about them in the past? The grandfather of the past was an awkward nerd, but a kind-hearted guy who lived mostly with his big pet and poor parents. He wasn't like the other kids and genuinely smelled really bad because he was poor and he either had to wake up like super early to make it to school and shower and do all that, or he had to wake up still early but not too early so he could at least get decent sleep and make it to uni. Not uni, make it to his high school. But yeah, he just wasn't like the rest of his peers. He wasn't clean. He wasn't nice. And this made him develop a lot of insecurities which would plague him into his adult life, into the man he is today, who is a very distant fellow. As for Topman of the past, he was a nice guy, but as we know, nice guys finish last. And that was for dramatic effect, guys. I'm not so internet blind to realize that that phrase has gone bad like spoiled milk. Oh my gosh, why am I talking like this? Oh my gosh. I'm sorry if I'm talking like robotic or anything. I have done a lot of these like chats so far explaining my story, but also I am rather tired as well. And the scripts are very high energy and I want to get all done in this little instant. Anyway, basically, what can I say about him? He was socially awkward. You know, he's nice, but he isn't like someone you would pick on like your team. He's a nice, bland guy. He's bland. He doesn't have a special talent. He doesn't have anything. He's just a bland person. And yeah, there's a lot more I should say. Like the king and queen of reincarnation. And Isekai's one plot point is a bunch of kings. Okay. I'm gonna just do this off the top of my head, okay? I can't read and do this. So basically, there are kings and queens of reincarnation. There are frog queens and kings as well. One plot point that there is that they summon a bunch of isekai heroes who eventually end up being like, fighting. So there's an isekai war. You also have the option to abandon your main task and join the life of an isekai hero, which eventually sparks up the war. There's going to be a dark mastermind behind it all. You know, you can make a team, go through dungeons, forget about your main crest and everything. And how much charge does my phone have? 1%. Oh my gosh. I'm going to stop it.